Hey guys, whilst John is having technical issues, I'm just going to do the intro. Today, we're going to be talking about why you got to stop fucking selling to everyone. Not everyone is a prospect. You need to realize that. But we're not going to leave you hanging. We're going to tell you exactly what you should be doing instead.
Hang on. We are not going to tell them what they should be doing. I'm going to tell them while you sit there and fucking worship at my feet, basically.
Do you know I am actually here? You are the typical autistic superhuman in films, like the supercomputer, and you talk in code and on levels that people don't understand. I'm here to translate it and to make sure you don't go too deep. So the details of what we're talking about today is niching down and having a good offer. As they say, John, there's riches in the niches.
I know that phrase always bugs me because it doesn't work in British English, does it?
No, it doesn't.
It's either riches in niches, which is American niche, or riches in niches, which makes no sense whatsoever.
Who says that?
Well, nobody does. But if you want it to rhyme, to say riches in niches is it's true, but it doesn't have the same flow, does it? Riches in niches, whatever you like to call it, however you describe it. Well, here's the thing. I remember asking a young lad I was mentoring as a copywriter years ago, "Who's your ideal client?" And he said, "Anyone with a credit card." Fuck's sake. That's as bad as it gets. I can't imagine it getting worse than that. But the thing is, what he actually came out with and admitted to is existentially how most people live, business owners. I see on LinkedIn people saying, "I won't work with just anyone," but then in the next couple of posts or the next few days, they're pissing and moaning and wailing and gnashing their teeth about shitty prospects and clients who've screwed them over, just not a fit, they've ghosted them, they've not paid, all that kind of thing. Clearly, you do work with just anyone, because if you were working with the people you say you work with, this would not be happening. As we said a couple of episodes ago, the people who take our advice, who follow our methods, they never get ghosted in the sense they never get left high and dry being owed money. They can get ignored and ghosted, yeah, but not while they're being owed money. Be clear about that. So people will still ghost you, but that's okay because you're not giving them anything. But they never get ghosted, left owed money. They never get given the runaround, fobbed off, led on, all that kind of thing. Big idea that it cannot possibly happen if you take our advice and our approach. It's just the problem just goes away. There's nothing else I can say about it really without telling you how to do it. And I'm happy to do that. We do it in the book, but that's not what we're doing on this episode. So if you want to get the best clients, people who follow your rules and boundaries, which they absolutely should, the simplest thing to do is just figure out who you want to sell to, why you want to sell to them, and then pitch everything at those people and fuck everyone else. I mean, a good example of this is an actual example, and I spoke about this again a couple of episodes ago. The woman who took exception to my reply to her connection message. "Thanks for connecting. You've got no idea what you let yourself in for. I'm here to do business, not socialise, so here are 3 ways to get my help." Wow, nothing like being direct, and that rubbed me up the wrong way. Fine, so I disconnected. She's clearly not in my target market, and that's okay. I don't give a shit. But then someone else, when I posted about this, said, "Well, that would have rubbed me up the wrong way too." There's a difference between being a direct and a used car salesman. Great with the ad hominem attacks, thank you. So I start mentioning your appearance and your weight. How would you like that? The kind of thing. But the point is, she's not in my target market either. And it was arrogant and narcissistic of me to tell her that, apparently. But it's not arrogant and narcissistic to offer an unsolicited opinion and then get offended when someone says,
"You've got to learn your place, John."
Yeah, I know my place. He's on top, boy. So you need to be very clear about your target market and then put in place filters and boundaries and rules to make sure that those are the only people you end up talking to. Look, when you get on the phone, I used to say, the only people you should be speaking to are people who are 80% of the way to giving you money. So the conversation you're having is not what can you do for me and how much is it, but fucking hell, John, when can we start? Those are the kind of conversation you want to have. I'll make that even stricter now and say the only people you should be speaking to really are people who've already given you money. Now, there are exceptions. We were talking about one just before we came on air here. When you get into the advanced stuff, you go for what's called quid pro quo, which isn't necessarily money. But most people are nowhere near at that level yet. Most people would do well just to say, if you don't pay me for a consultation, we don't speak. It's as simple as that. And your average freelancer, that's enough for what they want. We were talking of someone who goes into Fortune 100 companies, and there's a long sales process, and he's actually maybe having his check signed by people maybe 1, 2, or 3 levels above the person he starts speaking to.
That's a different ball game. We do teach that, we can do that, but that's not what most freelancers are doing. Most freelancers are probably speaking to the person they're doing business with, and if they're not, they should be. So your target market. So one way to aim to refine your avatar, so you're speaking to the right people, and this is exactly what we do. Is we've got a limit of maybe lower limit of maybe 250 to 500k, and an upper limit of maybe 2 to 3 million. Now they're not arbitrary. They're fairly broad, but it's not arbitrary. We say the bottom end is at least 250 to 500k because we want people who are not going to bulk at spending, say, 10, 20 grand on consultations. I'm talking about the consultation stuff here, by the way, not necessarily people who buy our books. And then we've got the upper end, 3 to 5 million, which is quite broad, I know. But that's because it's much bigger than that, and you start getting into layers of bureaucracy we don't want to deal with. A firm of 2 to 5 million is generally run by the guy in control of it. So involved in the day-to-day at some level. So at the bottom end, they can afford us, and at the top end, we can speak to the guy in charge. And everywhere in between, that's also true. Yeah, we don't want to be dealing with someone who says, I've got to speak to my boss to okay this. I had someone the other week trying to lead me on with these little fucking fishing lines. Oh, I've got 14 people, 14 sales guys. Could you train them? Yeah, I could. £100 consultation, and we'll talk about it. Oh, I'm not used to paying for consultations. I'd have to get approval for that. Well, in that case, if you can't fucking approve 100 quid for a chat with me to talk about a 25k plus project, you can't talk to me about a 25k plus project because it ain't happening. If you've got to fucking beg and scrape to your boss for 100 quid, there's no point in talking to you about a 25k fucking project. There just isn't. You know, when you've got the budget and the money and the authority to spend it, then we can talk. But this all boils down to, you know, it's the third thing we do in our business in Core Control. The first thing is we establish what you want from your business. The second thing is talk about your rules and boundaries. The third thing is, okay, who do you want to fucking sell to? Who is it exactly?
If you don't know your audience, you can't make a good offer.
No.
So therefore, you'll never sell anything.
No, let's give a really clear example that everyone will get, because everyone listening to this, everyone in fucking Christendom has either been to a gym or know someone who's been to a gym. We all know why you go to the gym, for sure. We know what you do when you get there. Not the detail, but you go there to do fucking exercise, pump iron and shit, right?
Yeah.
Your average PT, their way of getting business is to stand by the machine, training people, you know, and then they have people coming up to them in the gym saying, oh, that looks interesting. Let's have a chat. Would you train me? Yeah, sign here, kind of thing. That's how they get it. That's why they charge £15 an hour or so. Yeah, real shitty way to market your business. But they might end up talking to, 1 minute, a 19-year-old young lady who's about to jet off to Ibiza to go on the shag fest and a rave fest on the beach. And then the next day it might be a guy of my age who's overweight, his wife won't shag him, and he wants to fucking relive his youth. Two completely different people doing, you know, you're selling the same thing to them, really, in terms of nuts and bolts, but different mindset, different motivations, require different language, and certainly almost always a different attitude to how much they're going to pay and indeed the ability to pay. So a smart PT will pick one niche and sell to those people. And if they're really smart, they'll sell to people with a burning desire and the money to pay to fucking extinguish that burning desire. A lot of PTs are going for guys my age who are overweight and their wives won't have sex with them. Why? Because it's a fucking big deal. You know, if your wife, mine hasn't done this, so I'm not speaking from experience. If your wife turns around and says, you're too fucking fat, I don't want to shag you, what are you going to do? There's no point in trying to look for someone else who's going to shag you because you're too fat. You know, and this actually happens. Phil Agostino, my PT, he targets guys my age with that problem because
and it's just a coincidence deal. You're his client, yeah?
No, it isn't. He does that because I told him to.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Well, no, I told him, who do you sell it to? Well, anyone who needs weights, really. Well, no, Phil. Oh, that was years ago. That's 6 years ago. So when you can do that, when everything changes, because not only are you then very focused in what you're doing, but your language, you only have to have one sales message, really. Look at Toby, the guy who does my mobility stuff with me, right? His message is to me and to guys like me, this is going to resonate. I'm 70 in less than 13 years. And to me, the big deal is in 13 years, this could be the difference between you leaving your house and having to hold onto a bar as you step down, right? Or get off the toilet without having to use a handrail, and indeed maybe even be able to wipe your own bum. Now, can you imagine how that would feel to a guy like me who's been fit and healthy and mobile all his life? I used to fucking teach jiu-jitsu. I used to be a doorman. What do you think that thought is like for me? Well, I don't want that. No fucking way am I having that. I'm going to do this mobility shit and stay fucking supple. That's a big deal. That should be the core of his message to guys like me, if he's selling to guys like me. Now, if he's selling to, say, young women who want to become ballerinas or something, it'd be a completely different fucking message. But you're all in this space. I'm using it, I'm not even using extremes, but I'm using very specific, simple ones here. But whatever you're selling, your target market, you should be refining your target market so you can talk about kind of one very small set of problems, one very small set of outcomes here that they desperately, desperately want. And then you should focus on that. And it makes everything easier. It makes your message easier. It makes your targeting easier. It makes it easier to put your prices up, because selling to someone on a very specific promise, it means you can charge a lot more than selling to something very general.
It also allows you to really dial in your marketing. So if you're selling, for example, conservatories, there will be postcodes where the council look down and stop you getting conservatories and whatnot installed. But there are postcodes that you don't even have to talk about. You don't even have to ask anyone whether you can get the conservatory. You should be targeting the areas where they don't even need to ask anyone. Furthermore, people get conservatories for different reasons. Some people want it so they can stick the tumble dryer in there. The drying rack, they want tiny little conservatory to treat it almost like a shed, but just for household items. Other people, they want to knock down walls, and they now want this luxurious kitchen that flows into an entertainment area with a small seating area and a small dining area. But if you don't know your fucking target audience and you think, well, I'll just do conservatories, you ain't going to get very far. If you know who you do conservatories for and where you do it, you sell a lot of fucking conservatories.
Yeah. There's something else as well, and it's not obvious. It makes delivery easier. In your delivery, you're only having to think about one set of problems to solve. And that means even your technical infrastructure, like your segmentation and your mailing list, your website, everything else becomes easier. If you say, like us, we teach stuff. So we've got an online portal using a thing called LearnDash. Because we know whom we're speaking to, and we're pumping out the same message to the same kind of people, we have a kind of psychographic more than a demographic, right? So we don't so much have industry niches and societal niches. We have psychographic niches, but it's the same thing. It doesn't matter. Yeah, we can have one learning portal with one set of lessons and core things. We're not trying to sell to 20 different kinds of people and have 20 different kind of fucking programs, each one slightly different, because we've got all these different avatars. Now, you can have more than one avatar, but if you do, you need two separate strands to your business. And sometimes that might even mean two separate websites. Yeah. For instance, if you were selling PT to men and women, you need to sell them separately. Yeah. You can probably have the same learning portal. That might not be difficult. You need two different sets of messages and probably two different approaches. People don't want to do it because it's hard work. I just want to do the marketing. No, this is part of the marketing, I'm afraid. But it's the really dull, boring part, a bit like decorating, where the most important part is sanding down the woodwork and stripping the walls.
Why don't you tell that story of, I think it was a makeup company or something, that you could have easily have doubled their profits by making one simple tweak?
It wasn't makeup. It wasn't a makeup company. It was teaching people to be life coaches.
Oh, okay.
And he found his main respondents were nurses, teachers, and strangely enough, lawyers. Women as well. They were nearly all women, mostly women. Because the women lawyers, and this is actually quite common apparently, they found it's a very male-orientated and dominated profession. They go into it wanting to help people, and they found actually it's more cutthroat than they liked. In general, women tend to be more caring. In general, women tend to be more people-orientated than outcome-orientated. That's in general. So please don't shoot me. I'm talking about generalities here. Anyway, the long and the short of it is all of his marketing was targeted at women. And I said to him, I can probably about double what you're making now, but it's going to cost you $100,000. And basically, I took his business from $1 million to $1.5 million. So it wasn't like I was leading him on with anything. I'd already made him $500,000 a year extra. And all I would have done is duplicated his marketing funnel for men. Because he was getting blokes, but he just wasn't targeting them. And I can't remember, I'm going back 15, 16 years now. So looking at all stuff, I knew, doing my little bit of research, I knew that if we were to create a companion funnel for men only, specifically for men, we would probably get the same kind of response, maybe a little bit less. But we'd be able to put the price up as well, and we could double his income. He didn't want to do it. He wouldn't want to pay me. So I said, okay, I'm not doing it.
The cunt probably knew he could click the pink colour, select all, and just change it to blue, and that would have been enough.
Yeah. Well, he didn't even know that. He had no idea what I was going to do. He said, well, tell me what you're going to do. I said, no. I'm not even going to talk about it unless you pay me. for this. I've got quite a rare skill set in copywriting that I can actually write for women. Most men don't know how to write for women, and most women don't know how to write for men. So again, this is going to upset a lot of people, but please, I don't give a shit about that. This is about the facts. If you're a copywriter and you're a woman, be very careful about writing stuff that's aimed at a male audience if you don't know what you're doing, and vice versa. It is a learned skill because we do use different language. And it makes a huge difference as well, because I've taken copy that was written by a bloke for a mixed audience, and the responses were awful because it was mostly a female audience. It was written for a mixed audience, but it was mostly women they were talking to, and it was written by a bloke. And it was all over the place. It was basically all about dominating and crushing, destroying your competitors. But women in the main don't want to hear that.
No.
They want everyone to be okay and everyone to be hugging. So I actually didn't write. What I did, I charged the guy, I think it was like $3,000 for a video review of the page, and just told him what to change. Didn't write it. And they did that, and their conversions like tripled or something like that. It was insane. This was for a webinar.
You
It was
are
insane.
a misogynistic fucking pig. How dare you suggest men and women are different and want different things? Pig.
Sucks, doesn't it? Yeah. Now tell me something I don't know.
To surmise so far, guys and girls, I'm not misogynistic. Only John is. He's white gammon. You got to stop selling to everyone. You got to really fucking dial in and know your audience, and then you've got to build an offer that fixes their burning problems. Easily done, eh?
Easily done.
Easily done. The easiest way to do it, to shortcut all of that, because you will trip up, you will think you know it, and then you'll get into it and you'll go, how far do I niche down? If I'm doing conservatories, all right, a niche by area. Do I niche by like how many windows they have? You go down a rabbit hole and find yourself having questions that you won't have the answer for. The best thing you can do is join us on Call 28, 28-day challenge, where we go through exercises such as your angels and demons that allow you to really dial in who you're working with, and then extract your marketing messages from which you can build your offers from. What an offer, eh? And fucking, if you buy the book, it's fucking half price.
75 quid as opposed to 150. I'm ashamed of myself.
Me too.
The thing is, be very upfront about it. Core 28, it will change your life and business, but our intention is to get you into core control in February. So we're not being altruistic here, but equally, and you have my word on this, and anyone who knows me knows I'm a man of my word, it is not a bait and switch. We don't hint at things in Core 28. We don't tease you and say, but if you want the real deal, go to Core Control. What we give you is the real deal, and it will work. But it's not everything. There's always more. There are people in Core Control we want to join us in Elite because there's always more. And even in Elite, we've got ideas for something beyond Elite because there's always more. I'm still learning, for fuck's sake. Even in my advanced years. I know.
John's still learning. Christ. But what people probably need to realise with us is we're incredibly consistent. We solve the same problems all the fucking time. Our prices vary across programs and products and whatnot because you're getting levels of access.
That's what
the more access you have, you pay a lot more. With something like Core 28, you get 28 days of actions from us with limited access, which is why it's fucking at the moment 75 quid. We would not be selling it for 75 quid if we were on a one-to-one call with you every single fucking day. No, that's consulting, and that's very fucking expensive.
I'll tell you why it is. We've got a guy in Core Control who's asked a question after the first Q&A, and it's a really good question. And it requires me to record an in-depth, detailed video, which will contain material probably beyond anyone on the program at the moment. But I need to do it because I need to make him realise that, we are going to get to it, but not right now. You wouldn't get that if you just bought a £5 book, because I ain't going to bother. I'm not that interested. But this guy's paid us a lot of money, so that's what we would do. If you will develop the attitude, because it takes work, that you would rather live in a tent in a field than compromise your values and your integrity, you will become unstoppable and unassailable. You will lose a lot of friends, and people won't like you very much because they can't intimidate you. But you'd think to yourself, but that I risk then having to go and live in a field in a tent because of my integrity and my values. And that's true, you do. But that never happens. The reason it never happens is because the kind of people you want to work with will respect that. And you will get the 50K, the 100K clients because they feel you are a leader, because that's what leaders do. If you're the kind of person who will change your opinions and your attitudes at a whim and kowtow and beg and scrape and just do as you're told and deliver shit because they want shit, then you'll get treated like the hired help, and you'll get the clients who don't want to pay you at all, even though you've done the work. You will survive. You will scrape a living on the $100 clients and not the 50K ones. And it comes down to what goes on in here, what you're prepared to put up with, rules and boundaries. That's why we do it. The second thing we do, and that's why it's so important. Anyway, I think we've said enough, haven't we?
Yeah, we have. And because I really want to make it a thing. You're not big on things. I'm big on things, like fucking naming shit. I love the word pumpkin think. You got to stop the pumpkin think. I love that. Stop the pumpkin think. Get out your jar. Go find a bigger jar, or fucking ditch the jar at all. Anyway, let's wrap up, John.
Yeah. Go and get the book, well-fedfreelancer.com, or better still, because then you'll get on our email list and then you'll get offered the Well-Fed Business Owner.
Yeah, the only way they're getting the discounts at the moment is if they buy the Well-Fed Freelancer first. So you've got to jump through some hoops. You've got to pay £5 for the Well-Fed Freelancer, which then gives you half price on the Well-Fed Business. So you're not paying a score. And then if you buy that, you also get the opportunity to purchase Core 28 at half price. So yes, we know it's difficult. Yes, we could make it easier. No, we're not going to. We're doing it like this for a reason.
All right, folks. See you later. Fuck off. Have a good weekend, etc.
They'll listen to this Monday, so I hope your weekend was shit. Goodbye.